Once again, Christian greetings to all our valued listeners and viewers throughout the whole world. This is our episode number 14 on the final warning message just prior to the close of provision. And this time, I would like to emphasize that verse in Acts chapter 1 verse 3 saying, many infallible proofs. Acts chapter 1 verse 3. You can read from Genesis to Revelation, but only on Acts chapter 1 verse 3, you can read that statement, many infallible proofs. So it says, to whom also he showed himself alive after his passion by many infallible proofs, being seen of them 40 days, and speaking of the things pertaining to the kingdom of God. So it says, many infallible proofs. The same with the statement in 1 SR 232 saying, as God is infallible, all His works spell perfection, even to one jot or one tittle. So we have an infallible God, and God bestowed unto us infallible proofs. Now, let us read again the statement in track number 10 on page 38. Saying, do the nations of today do not follow the biblical monthly calendar that in no wise alters the fact that the original weekly cycle has never been changed. And as it is entirely independent of both the solar and the lunar calendars, had God not preserved it intact throughout all the ages, the saints now, in the times of restitution of all things, would have great difficulty to restore it and to vindicate its integrity. Track number 10, page 38. Of course, the word restore must be applied to the things that had been destroyed. And since the weekly cycle never been destroyed, nothing to restore. So the word restore must be applied only to the monthly calendar and the yearly calendar. Or we call it the Bible creation calendar. And several times we read in 1 TJ 28, page 15. Accordingly, let's read again. 1 TJ 28, page 15. The great and dreadful day of the Lord, the judgment for the living, the day in which all things are to be restored. Mark chapter 9, verse 12. The judgment for the living, the day in which all things are to be restored. B.T. Hotep died in the period of the judgment that pertains to the dead. He himself declared in track number 3, page 43, that the judgment for the living is obviously yet future. And in answerer number 2, page 93, he declared that they were still in the time of the judgment of the dead. And secondly, there was no such record that in the days of B.T. Hotep, the Bible creation calendar was restored. Why? Because the divinely appointed time by which the creation Bible calendar will be restored is in the judgment that pertains to the living, according to 1 TG 28, page 15. In General Conference Special, on page, let's read, the General Conference Special, on page 19 and page 20. In doing all this, He sets in motion the power that is to restore all things. Hence, Christ's positive declaration, Elia truly shall first come and restore all things. Matthew 17 verse 11. Inevitably then, without His message, we would die in our ignorance and in our sins, never live to see the restoration completed. And that divinely appointed time by which the restoration will be completed is in the judgment that pertains to the living. Now let us read answerer number 3. Answerer number 3, page 10, it says, to prevent His people from bringing upon themselves such a catastrophe and to have them intelligent as to the time the year begins, the Lord gave to Moses the sacred yearly calendar which cannot be lost or miscalculated so long as the earth remains. And to whom such sacred yearly calendar had been given by God? It was given by God to Moses. And God guaranteed that such calendar that was given by God to Moses, it will never lost so long as the earth still remains. And in the 5 books of Moses, which is the Pentateuch, it is in the book of Genesis, on that historical event, the flood, that we could be able to trace up the Bible creation calendar. And the shepherd's rod plainly told told us here in 2SR 247 and 248. It says, the second month and the 17th day of the month was the date of the solar year according to the antediluvian calendar. What calendar? Antediluvian calendar. And in page 248, it says, this fact proves that the antediluvian monthly calendar consisted of 30 days to a month. 2SR page 248. And since there are 12 months in a year, 12 times 30, 360 days every year. Now, in this study, we will prove to you, brothers and sisters, that with unbroken line, the Bible creation calendar from the creation week onward consists only 360 days every year. For if not, the statement in the shepherd's rod can never be reconciled. Here in 2SR 254, so let's read the statement. Here in 2SR, on page 254, it says, our God commanded Noah with his family, beasts, fowls, and creeping things, to enter in the ark on preparation day, Friday. In the selfsame day entered Noah, as God had commanded him, and the Lord shut him in as the Sabbath drew on, being the 10th day of the second month. Genesis 7, verse 13 and 16. So, the shepherd's rod made it so plain, brethren, that Noah entered into the ark Friday, and that is May 10. And we will show to you in this diagram the flood, number 42, slide 1. So you see in that diagram, May 10, that is the time Noah entered into the ark Friday, according to 2SR 254. Therefore, the 40 days and 40 nights ended in June 27, Wednesday, and also is stated in 2SR 248. And then from the time after the 40 days and 40 nights, the waters remain for 110 days. And that is up to October 17, Monday. So here, brothers and sisters, in these occurrences, we can see exactly, according to the shepherd's rod, that the antediluvian monthly calendar consisted only 30 days every month. And to repeat again, here in the 2SR 200, let's read the statement. 248, the following is a summary and a grand total of days. 40 while raining, 110 to the time they began to subside, 164 days for the waters to recede in the bowels of the earth, and 56 for the earth to dry, making a total of 370 days, and 7 before the flood had started, reaching a grand total of 377 days. 12 months and 17 days in all. You see, 12 months and 17 days. 360 plus 17, 377. So that proof is infallible, impregnable, that the Bible creation calendar consisted only 360 days every year. And that is the calendar that was given by God to Moses. Now, I invite all mathematicians, brothers and sisters, to establish divine formula. Since there are only 7 days in 1 week, so if the number of days are divisible by 7, then the start and the end part must be the same day. If the numbers are divisible by 7. And the only way is to divert or to convert the years or to convert the months into days. For example, 3.5 years, that is 1,260 days. 42 months, that is also 1,260 days. According to the shepherd's rod. Let's read track number 6. So it says here, it's concerning more pertaining to the dark ages, page 20 and 21. These olive trees are called witnesses, anointed ones, prophets. They were to prophesy in sackcloth for the space of 42 months. This is a period equivalent to that in Daniel 7:25. And Revelation 12:14, that is to a time and times and the dividing of time, a time 1 year, times 2 years, half a time, half a year, 42 months in total. It is equivalent also to that in Revelation 13:5, 40 and 2 months. And to that in Revelation 12 verse 6, 1,203 days. In each instance, the time reckoning by the biblical rule of 30 days to a month amounts to 1,260 days. Reckoning of biblical rule of reckoning. Only 30 days every month. If the 42 months are not 30 days every month, then you cannot arrive on 1,260 days. Although before, somewhere in 2011 or beginning from 1996, we have a long method in reckoning the history and the prophecy. But thank God, at the time that we have been able to establish a divine formula, it makes our reckoning even more easier and faster because the rule of numbers can never be mistaken. If you will commit mistake, it will always indicate error because that is what number means. So, number always needs absolute correct answer. There is no maybe. If you will say 2 plus 2, you cannot say maybe 4. No, exactly 4. 3 times 3, exactly 9. So, concerning number, the answer is always exact, not approximate. And that is why it is called infallible proof. And to repeat again, in this study, there are only two. At least at this time, we will explain two. I'm sorry, not only two, but there are many. But at this time, we will emphasize the 40 typical days and the 30 typical days. Now, reading again, track number 3, page 86. It says, the 40 days in Acts chapter 1, verse 3 and 9, from the resurrection to the ascension, are consequently typical of the period from 1844 to the fulfillment of the marking and slaying as recorded in Ezekiel 9, and Revelation 7, verse 3 to 8, Revelation 14, verse 1 to 5, respectively, and in Testimonies to Ministers, page 445, Testimonies, volume 3, page 266, or also Early Writings, page 270 to 273. Track number 3 on page 86. The 40 days from Christ's resurrection to His ascension are typical. What period? The period in 1844. What is that period in 1844? There are two periods. The commencement of the investigative judgment of the dead. When was that? October 22, 1844. Gregorian calendar. And we already proven to you with absolute fact that the number 40 there is not the period of time, but rather figurative number 40. Because, brothers and sisters, track number 3, page 86, there must be an explanation of that paragraph. We know that Jesus Christ was resurrected in April 18. And from April 18, there are 13 remaining days. And Jesus Christ ascended to heaven in May 27. So there are 3 numbers, brothers and sisters. 18, 13, 27. And we know that this was in 31 AD. And of course, October 22, 1844 cannot be 40 days. Cannot be 40 years. From 31 AD to 1844, it cannot be 40 days. It cannot be 40 years. Neither 400 years. Neither 4,000 years. But very simple. That is pointing to April 18, the date when Jesus Christ was resurrected, and to the date when Jesus Christ entered to the most holy place. 18 plus 22 equals 40. That's what it means. Therefore, this illustration answers the 2 remaining periods. What is that? Marking and slaying. According to track number 3 on page 86. Now, I would like to go first to the slaying or slaughtering. So, it's very important, brethren, to have a complete understanding. Now, let us show to you you remember the diagram concerning that predicted event, the slaying? I think it is entitled Infallible Proofs. Maybe, why September 22, 2022? Why September 22, 2022? Maybe that is the diagram. I would like to read first the old symbolic code while we are looking for that diagram. Okay, so let's read first the old symbolic code. How does the slaying had been revealed through the 40 typical days? Let's read the old symbolic code. 3 symbolic code, 8 to 10, page 9. 3 symbolic code, 8 to 10, page 9. So, let's read the statement. What, like, and how far? And if you have some questions, do not hesitate to send your questions to our email because our desire is to help everybody. Now, let us read 3 symbolic code 8 to 10, page 9. What, like, and how far? Question number 178. What will the slaughter in the churches be like? Will it involve the outside world? It says, answer. The slaughter of Ezekiel 9 is the antitype of the Passover in Egypt, and therefore it will be like it. Read Exodus chapter 12. Now, what does it mean by it will be like it? And since it says that the the slaughtering of Ezekiel 9 is the antitype of that slaughtering in Egypt, then it should exactly fits and perfectly match. In the Great Controversy 399, it says, these types were fulfilled not only as to the event but as to the time. So the fulfillment of the antitype, the time is very important, and that is the reason why it is very important to understand the Bible pattern calendar. Because without the Bible pattern calendar, then we could not be able to ascertain clearly the Passover in Egypt. The first clue that had been given is found on 1SR, 114 and 115. The prophecy made to Abraham of 430 years ended at the time the children of Israel went out of Egypt, which is according to the Bible chronology, King James Version, 1491 BC. So we have already the year when the children of Israel went out of Egypt. That was 1491 BC, according to the Shepherd's Rod. 1491 BC. When does creation begin? 4000 BC. Let us read track number 15, page 39. So if you have this, you can see this white horse. Then at the bottom, you can see 4000 BC. Track 15, page 39. Now, I would like to read the paragraph. You see 4000 BC. And this is the statement. Naturally, the first seal, the seal with which the judgment opens, must contain the things at the very inception of the human race. So that is the very beginning of the human race, 4000 BC. Logically then, the white horse, the first in the symbolism, identifies the world's first state of being, pure and sinless, with a divine crowned ruler, rider, who at first had no goal but to subdue the earth and to fill it with eternal God-like beings. The earth itself was wrapped in a garb of beauty and purity with all the wonders on land and in sea. Nothing was wanting. So, we have already 1491 BC. We have already 4000 BC. In 4000 BC, when does the year begins? Let us read answerer number 3. Answerer number 3 on page 11. It says, answerer number 3, page 11. Thus was the Lord re-establishing the creation calendar, reaffirming that the year begins on the day of the vernal equinox, on which spring, the first season of the year, commences, and on which the sun and the moon were created, the fourth day from the beginning of creation, the only point in time at which in the very nature of things, the year could begin. So that is the very beginning of the calendar. Fourth day. What is the fourth day? Wednesday. Therefore, Wednesday, April 1, 4000 BC. Then from that time onwards, we can trace forward applying the divine principle. 12 months in a year, 30 days every month, 360 days every year. And that is pattern number 1. So we will show to you the calendar, pattern number 1. I think we have that calendar, the entire 12 months, pattern number 1. And we will save all those diagrams and we will send it to you. So that is the beginning of the calendar in the creation week. You can see April 1, Wednesday. How do we know that April 1 is Wednesday? According to the Shepherd's Rod. Answerer number 3, page 11. How do we know that that is 4000 BC? According to the Shepherd's Rod, track 1539. How do we know that the creation calendar, there are only 12 months and 30 days every month? According to the Shepherd's Rod, 2SR 247, 248. So by tracing forward 30 days in April, then you can see that is the first calendar. And then onwards, then we can easily discern that from creation down to the time when the creation calendar was re-established by God, there are 2,513 years. And of course, if we will make a calculation every year, even the whole month, we will not be finished because that is a long method. And that is why this is the method. We establish 7 patterns. Then let us show to them 4000 BC with corresponding pattern. You see this one? 4000 BC, pattern number 1. So that is how the Bible calendar being re-established. From 4000 BC, pattern number 1. 3999 BC, pattern number 2. 3998 BC, pattern number 3. 3997 BC, pattern number 4. 3996 BC, pattern number 5. 3995 BC, pattern number 6. 3994 BC, pattern number 7. Then 3993 BC, go back to pattern number 1. Every 7-year cycle, go back to the same pattern. Then it's easy to locate. Look at the last pattern in 1 BC. And we will send to you. You can recheck and try to find out if there is wrong because that calculation is perfect. Now look at 1 BC. That is pattern number 3. Therefore, 1 AD is pattern number 4. To repeat again, pattern 1 BC, the last year of BC, is pattern number 3. Therefore, 1 AD began in pattern number 4. Now let us go to AD, beginning from 1 AD. And look at 31 AD. What pattern? Pattern number 6. Now let us check. Go to pattern number 6. So that is pattern number 6. April 1 is on Thursday. And April 16 is Friday. And April 18 is Sunday. And that is what the Shepherd's Rod teaches. Now let us read 2SR on page 23. It says, the 14th day of the first month that year was on Wednesday. The 14th day of April first month fall on Wednesday. Now look at the pattern number 6. You see, April 14 is Wednesday. Brethren, truth is truth and sense is sense. Let us have them both. 1 TG 6:32. Remember the experience of Galileo Galilei. When Galileo Galilei discovered that the earth was round, and according to the Shepherd's Rod, here in track number 5, page 85, once men fought the astronomical finding of Galileo, they even forced him to recant his position that the earth was round. But their fighting the truth did not make the earth flat. Track number 5, page 85. However hard you will fight this message, it will never change. The truth will forever remain. As stated in the Bible, as stated in the Shepherd's Rod. Now look at our diagram again concerning the flood. Look at the diagram concerning the flood. You can read that in Genesis chapter 5. Adam at the age of 130, Seth was born. Then Seth at the age of 105, Enos was born. Enos at the age of 90, Canaan was born. Canaan at the age of 70, Mahalalel was born. Mahalalel at the age of 65, Jared was born. Jared at the age of 162, Enoch was born. Enoch at the age of 65, Methuselah was born. Methuselah at the age of 187, Lamech was born. And at the age of 182, Noah was born. And Noah was 600 years old when the flood was came. And you will add the numbers. The total is 1,656 years. Then you will subtract 4,000 BC minus 1,656 years. You will fall on 2344 BC. That is the year of the flood, 2344 BC. Now let us go to our chart. What pattern? 2344 BC. 2344 BC. What Bible pattern of calendar? You see pattern number 5. Now let us see pattern number 5. You see, May 10, Friday. And that is the statement in 2SR 254. Noah entered into the ark on May 10, which is Friday. It is infallible. It cannot be mistaken because numbers will never tell a lie. That divine principle, being based on the Bible and in the Shepherd's Rod publications, it is called divine perfect calculation. What is the admonition given in track number 3 on page 54? Now let us read again. Track number 3 on page 54. The seed sower, the seed, the field, the season of cultivation and growing, and the season of harvest must together be perfectly calculated to illustrate the spiritual kingdom. Otherwise, the representation can only lead into error instead of into truth. Led into error instead of into truth. If the season of harvest cannot be perfectly calculated. What kingdom? To illustrate the spiritual kingdom, which we read several times in Answerer number 2, page 90, that we can never be a part of that literal, physical, premillennial kingdom unless we will be a part of that God spiritual premillennial kingdom. And that spiritual premillennial kingdom can never be illustrated unless the time of the harvest will be perfectly calculated. And what is harvest? One symbolic code, number 14, page 11. The last part of provisionary time. Harvest is the last part of provisionary time. One symbolic code, 14:11. How many years provisionary time? track number 3, 1934 edition, page 71. 6,000 years provisionary time. And when does the 6,000 years will begin? So let us read the statement. Although there are many statements in the Shepherd's Rod, but I would like to look at that statement by which it was mentioned when Adam was sinned or committed sin. 6,000 years provisionary time from the time Adam is here, and third edition on track number 3, page 94. It says, the equation under discussion must consequently embrace the entire span of provisionary time since the day Adam sinned. This demands therefore that the number of provisionary time, 600, the multiplicand be multiplied by a multiplier having universal value to show that Christ is the only Savior in all ages. And we know that that is 600 times 10 equals 6,000 years. When does the 6,000 years commence? Since the day Adam sinned. And in order for us to get the exact number of days, then we need to convert 6,000 years to days. 6,000 times 360 days equals 2,160,000 days. 2,160,000 days. Therefore, from the time Adam was fallen into sin, you will count 2,160,000 days. Then that is the end of 6,000 years. The statement in 1TG, number 1, on page 8, it says, and why did he have to cause them to eat their bread in sorrow for 6,000 years? For 6,000 years? On page 10, it says, why did mankind have to wait 6,000 years before he could return to Eden? 6,000 years. Therefore, on that very day, the end part of the 6,000 years, all the righteous, together with all the animals, because it is not only human being that need to be redeemed, according to Romans chapter 8, verse 22 and 23, as well as all the animals, creeping things, fowls, all of them also need to be redeemed. On that very day, all of them were already in God's premillennial kingdom. And all of them outside are the wicked. So we need to study closely now, brothers and sisters, the 6,000 years prophecy. Remember, there are many passages that mention 6,000 years. From the writings of William Miller, the writings of Sister White, the writings of Alonzo Jones, the writings of B.T. Houghton. And the Jefferson says that God would not waste the time of His servants to write them if there is no significance. To SR 194, God does not make vain repetitions, neither would He waste the time of His servants to write them. But I do fully believe that the full information concerning the 6,000 years is in the last generation of men. And I am a fully believer that whatever written in the written records of inspiration, it is accurate. Now here in 4 BC, 1081, 5 BC rather, 5 BC, 1081, Christ in the wilderness of temptation stood in Adam's place to bear the test he failed to endure. Here Christ overcame in the sinner's behalf 4,000 years after Adam turned his back upon the light of his home. How many years? From the time Jesus Christ obtained the victory in the wilderness temptation? 4,000 years from the time when Adam and Eve turned their sorrowing steps in the Garden of Eden. So through the Bible calendar, we could trace now. Let us convert to days. 4,000. 4,000 times 360 equals 1,440,000 days. 1,440,000 days. 4,000 years times 360 days equals 1,440,000 days. Now, let us now apply the divine formula, the time and death calculator. Because calculator will never tell a lie. No one will buy a calculator if that calculator would give a wrong answer. But, of course, the machine cannot be mistaken. Now, let us put Bible calendar. November 27 AD. That is the time when Jesus Christ overcome in the wilderness temptation. Then we'll count backward 1,440,000 days. Then you will fall in November 27, 3974 BC. That is the day by which Adam and Eve were expelled in the Garden of Eden. But that is not the time that they commit sin, because they fall into sin according to inspiration, October 10. Although the voice of inspiration did not know what year, but it was declared that the fall of man is in October 10. And that is the reason why October is called the fall, because that is the fall of man. And that is the reason why the atonement would be on October 10, because that is the day that Adam and Eve were fallen into sin. So, in that information given by 5 BC 1081, Adam and Eve were fallen into sin in October 10, 3974 BC. Now, let us put now October 10, 3974 BC. 3974 BC. Then, we will add 6,000 years or 2,160,000 days. You see, brothers and sisters, that would be on October 10, 2027 Bible calendar in Gregorian, March 1, 2026. Therefore, in March 1, 2026, being the end part of the 6,000 years, from the fall of man, all the righteous and all the animals, all of them were already in God's kingdom. All outside the kingdom are the lost. You see, brothers and sisters, that is 2026 and we are now 2021. There are only 5 years remaining to complete the 6,000 years. 5 years remaining from now. The 6,000 years will be completed. Now let us focus to the first section of the harvest, which is intended to the first fruits. Because we already established that the boundary line. What is the boundary line? March 1, 2026. It cannot be mistaken because that is a divine computation. The boundary line is March 1, 2026. So we will be now studying 2026 backward. Again, I invite all the Berean to focus in Jeremiah 8 verse 20. Let us sit down and study together Jeremiah 8:20. Let us read Jeremiah 8:20. Jeremiah chapter 8 verse 20. The harvest is past, the summer is ended, and we are not saved. What is the harvest? The last part of provisionary time. One symbolic code, number 14, page 11. Therefore, the harvest must be fulfilled within 6,000 years. And that is the last part of 6,000 years. And we have now remained 5 years to complete the 6,000 years. So within this remaining 5 years, the harvest of the first fruits must be fulfilled. What is harvest? Answerer number 2, page 36. Harvest is a period of time having a beginning and ending. I would like to repeat again. Harvest is a period of time having a beginning and ending. So, the harvest is divided into 2 divisions, beginning and ending. In what period of time? The 144,000 are sealed. Track 5, 74. It will be noted that the 144,000 are called the first fruits. Therefore, they are sealed at the beginning of the harvest. When does the 144,000 are sealed? Beginning of the harvest. Not in the ending, but rather they are sealed at the beginning of the harvest. Now let us apply that on the happenstance on this earth. There are only 2 classes of harvest, investigative and executive. The investigative, that is the sealing, and executive, that is the slaughtering. Now let us read again. White House Recruiter. On page 38. You can read from page 37, but to minimize time, I will just read page 38. Then is the harvest of the first fruits past. Who are they, the first fruits? 144,000. What does it mean? The harvest of the first fruits past. Meaning, the sealing of the 144,000 is finished. The fruits garnered in, and the tares shut out unto destruction. There in agony, to wail and to gnash their teeth, saying, the harvest is past, the summer is ended, and we are not saved. So here we can easily discern that Jeremiah 8:20, pointing to 2 occurrences, harvest and summer. When would be the summer is ended? In autumn. And in the chart of B.T. Hotep, that is September 22, the end of summer. And it was inscribed in present indicative tense, saying the summer is ended, meaning presently ended. The summer is ended, just presently ended. Jeremiah 8 verse 20. You see, September 22, autumnal equinox.
September 22, that is the time by which the prophecy must be fulfilled. The summer is ended. Why September 22? Because it points out to the 30 typical days. 30 typical days. When does the cleansing of the sanctuary begins? October 22, 1844. So what is the month earlier than October? September. September 22, I would like to show to you so that we could understand. The statement given by B.T. Hotep, the 30 typical days, by which 1 month earlier than the other. October 22. If you will say that the 1 month earlier is October 22 and the partner is November 22, it could not be real. Why? Because October has 31 days. Now, for example, we know that is Tuesday, right? Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. In 1844, October 22 fall on Tuesday. So this is 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. Now let us count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let us read again. Let us count again. 22, then 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there are 9 remaining days. Right, brothers and sisters? Now let us add 22 plus 9. 31. It could not be 30 typical days. I hope you understand this very important symbolic number. So the 1 month earlier could not be October, but rather September. Because September had only 30 days. So the statement 1 month earlier must be September 22. So we have September 22, October 22. What does it mean? Jeremiah 8 verse 20. Jeremiah 8 verse 20. The summer is ended when? September 22. It cannot be mistaken. It must be September 22. Or in other words, the divine principle, Jeremiah 8:20, must be fulfilled on September 22. Our next step is what year? That is our next step. Because it could no longer be mistaken. Jeremiah 8:20 must be fulfilled when? September 22. Or September 23. When the wicked will say, the harvest is past, the summer is ended. Every year there is September 22 and 23. Of course, but God gave to us the infallible proof, impregnable evidence, because it can never happen again that the season and the sacred feast perfectly coincides in the heavenly sanctuary. When would be the separation of the righteous from the wicked? October 10. But on the earth, when would be? Let us read answerer number 3. Answerer number 3, page 13. This chart enables us to see that just as one solar season matches another, the vernal equinox matches the autumnal equinox. Now, although it's a little deep subject, but in reality, the autumnal equinox and vernal equinox mentioned here is figurative, pointing to the proceedings in the heavenly sanctuary. And in such proceedings, the particular object in view is the parable in Matthew 20, according to 2SR 222, or 2SR 225 and 226. And what is the focal point in Matthew 20? The 11th hour call. They are the very first one that have been rewarded of never-ending life. Immortality was granted to them on that day of atonement when their sins had been blotted out. And without any doubts, that would be on March 22, 2022. Why? Because it will never happen again. I would like to show to you. Now, it is well known among all Adventists that October 22, 1844 is Day of Atonement, October 10. October 10. And that is in the heavenly calendar, 1843. This is Gregorian. But the miracle here is the season. The autumnal equinox by which the Day of Atonement fall is on October 22. The autumnal equinox, it is Tuesday. And the vernal equinox perfectly matched March 22, 2022. It is also October 10 in Bible calendar, 2023. And it is also Tuesday. That's what it means in answerer number 3, page 13. One season matches to another season, which is reverse. In October 1844, October 22, that is Day of Atonement, the commencement of the cleansing of the sanctuary. But in March 22, 2022, it is already during the vernal equinox, figurative vernal equinox. March 22, that is October 10, both of them are 22. The others in autumn, the other is in spring. But both of them are Day of Atonement. Perfectly matched. It will never happen again. That is why we sent to the brethren, those who are willing to see every year. Do we have that? From October 1844. We tried our best to show to you that up to 2027, because we are talking about the 6,000 years, only in 2022, that March 22 is October 10. Or in other words, so you have Gregorian calendar and Bible calendar. Yeah, 1 up to 180. Now, this is the thing. Brothers and sisters, the first infallible fruit is the autumnal and the vernal perfectly matched. Not only that, March 22, 2022, which is in Bible calendar October 10, that is the 180th Day of Atonement. Why 180? Because BT Hotep says from 1844, there are 3 full hours to SR 233. 3 full hours. How many minutes in 1 hour? 60. 3 times 60 equals 180. And also in volume 3, 369, Isaac represents or typifying the work of Christ in the heavenly sanctuary. How many letter Isaac? 5 letters pointing to the 5 distinct calls. What age Isaac died? 180, pointing to the 180 Day of Atonements. And March 22, 2022 is the 180th Day of Atonement, which also perfectly matches to the autumnal. This one is 22, this one is 22. This one is Day of Atonement, this one is Day of Atonement. And it will never happen again, brethren. And answers also, brothers and sisters, it answers to the 40 typical days. When was Jesus Christ was resurrected? April 18, then plus 22. 18 plus 22 equals 40. 40 typical days. Now let us go back to Jeremiah 8 verse 20. And again, when it would be that it will be repeated again, that March 22, 2022 would be October 10 in Bible calendar. It will take thousands of years. Let us just show to the brethren so that everyone could understand that we are nearing the end, brothers and sisters. Let us try again. So let us try again. The 2022 plus, let me see, 3464 AD. March 22. Gregorian AD. You see? It will repeat again to fulfill the prophecy. When? On 3464 BC. 1,500 years from now. Now ponder deeply. Or 1,400 years. Why is it that it is infallible? Because it will never happen again. So, if God will make a quiz by saying, the last and the final Day of Atonement, which is the blotting out of sins to the 144,000 living saints, that would be on vernal equinox, or that would be on spring equinox, by which it will perfectly match to the autumnal equinox, the commencement of the cleansing of the sanctuary. And the only answer can be given must be March 22, 2022. Why? Because only the answer of October 22 that matches the spring equinox must be also 22. What is the, we know that spring equinox, there are three months because there are 4 seasons, right? From April, May, up to June. But the fact is that 22 must be Day of Atonement. And why is it that we can rest assured that 2022, March 22, is the blotting out of sins of the 144,000? Because that is the 188th atonement. It was predicted beforehand that there must be only 180 Day of Atonements from October 22, 1844. And March 22, 2022 is the 180th Day of Atonement, blotting out of sins of the 144,000 living saints. And this is the very message that we are now proclaiming, so that our sins will be blotted out. Every year, there is March 22, but not all March 22 is October 10 from 1844. Do we have that March 22 from 1844? We make a list from 1844. You see, brothers and sisters, Gregorian calendar, we make a list from 1844. Now let us move. You see, continue. You see, brothers and sisters, continue. So we have that list. Only in March 22, 2022, Tuesday, by which in Bible calendar is October 10. So what answerer number 3, page 13 is saying that we need to find out October 10 of Bible calendar by which it will fall in spring equinox by which exactly match to the October 10 in the autumnal equinox. October 22, 1844, Gregorian calendar. But in Bible calendar or heavenly calendar, October 10, 1843. So we need to find out from spring equinox that March 22 is Day of Atonement and only in 2022. And if it will not be fulfilled in 2022, you will wait another 1,400 years. It will repeat 3464 AD. At that time, all of us were already dead. That is infallible. Never happened ever since. That is infallible proof. And that is the reason that we are so sure that that Day of Atonement on March 27, 2021 is the last and the final Day of Atonement in the blotting out of names, because the blotting out of names precede the blotting out of sins. And the blotting out of sins is in March 22, 2022. Look at how perfect the 40 typical days. From resurrection, April 18, and then 13 remaining days, and then 27 when Jesus Christ ascended to heaven. So, 18 plus 22, what is 22? October 1844. Of course, that is 40. 18 plus 22, that is 40. Now, how about 13? 13 plus 27, that is 40. What 27? That is March 27, 2021. Not all March 27 is October 10. Brothers and sisters, even this number answer the date, March 27, 2021. The last and the final Day of Atonement in the holy place. Now let us go back to Jeremiah 8 verse 20. And let us read again answerer number 3. Answerer number 3, page 13. Let's read again the statement. This chart enables us to see that just as one solar season matches another, the vernal equinox matches the autumnal equinox. But what one solar season that matches? The Day of Atonement. The Day of Atonement in autumn and the Day of Atonement in spring. Matches, perfectly matched. And then it says, and the summer solstice with the winter solstice. In like fashion, the sacred feast of one season match the sacred feast of another season. The 10th day of the first month, the separation of the unblemished lamb from the flock, corresponding to the 10th day of the 7th month, the work of atonement, the separation of the righteous from the unrighteous, signifying in both events a day of judgment, a day of separating the holy from unholy. Both of them are separation. The separation of the righteous from the unrighteous. The separation of the holy from the unholy. October 10 and April 10. Now, if you will say separation of the righteous October 10 in heavenly sanctuary, it's easy to understand. The names of the righteous brought into the most holy place, but the names of the wicked had been left. The righteous had been separated from the wicked. Day of Atonement, October 10. But on earth, it says that must be April 10. Answerer number 3, page 13. So the statement, the harvest is past. What is the statement in White House Recruiter, page 38? The first fruits are garnered in, meaning the 144,000 are separated. When? On April 10. But that April 10 must be on the month of September, because Jeremiah 8:20 is speaking Bible and Gregorian. That Jeremiah 8:20 in Bible calendar must be April 10, but in Gregorian calendar, that must be September 22 or September 23. And look at April 10, 2023. Bible calendar. April 10, 2023. Look at, you see September 23, 2021. So that is very plain. That is the time by which the summer is ended, the harvest is past. September 23, brethren. That is the only year by which April 10 fall on September 23. Let us go to April 10, 2024. You see, in Gregorian, September 18. That is still in the period of summer. I would like to explain. Jeremiah 8:20 is a miraculous truth because that is infallible, impregnable. It can never be repeated again. When would be the 144,000 will be separated according to the shepherd's rod? April 10. On earth. In heaven, October 10. But in heaven, only the names of the 144,000 brought into the most holy place, but the foolish virgins, the name of foolish virgins remain in the holy place. But on earth, that is April 10. So what does it mean by the harvest is past? White House Recruiter, page 38. The first fruits are garnered in, meaning the first fruits are separated. When? April 10. Therefore, Jeremiah 8:20 is a prediction that April 10 in Gregorian must be September 23. And there is only 1 year. Answer Jeremiah 8:20. That is this year. September 23, 2021. That is the time by which the foolish virgins will say, the harvest is past, the summer is ended, and we are not saved. Let us look at again in the time and death calculator. Besides this year, April 10, 2024, that is September 18, 2022. It cannot be because September 18 is still in the period of summer. You cannot say the summer is ended. Jeremiah 8:20 must be fulfilled when the summer is ended, and at the same time, that summer which is ended, that is also April 10, because the harvest is past. And when the 144,000 will be separated, April 10. Answerer number 3, page 13. Next year, April 10, 2024, 2025. You see, September 13. That is still in the summer period. You cannot say in September 13, 2023, the summer is ended. How could it be? That is still in the period of summer. April 10, 2026. You see, that is September 7. April 10, 2027. You see, that is September 2. April 10, 2028. You see, that is August 28. Still in the period of summer. April 10, 2029. You see, that is August 23. April 10, 2030. That is August 17. April 10, 2031. The year of Jubilee. That is August 12. So Jeremiah 8:20, there is only one specific year by which that verse will be fulfilled, and that must be on the year 2021, by which September 23, the summer is ended at that time, by which in Bible calendar, that is April 10. Not all September 23 in Gregorian, in Bible, that is April 10. Only in 2021. Only in 2021. And that is the reason why that is an infallible proof. It cannot be mistaken. And what is the next year, according to the shepherd's rod? The day of vengeance. Now, we will prove to you that the day of slaughtering, of course, brethren, the time when the wicked will say, the harvest is past, the summer is ended, that is still the time by which they were still alive. It could not be after they died, according to the shepherd's rod. But when would be the day of slaughtering? That would be on September 22, 2022. The day of slaughtering, according to the shepherd's rod, in 3 symbolic code 8 to 10, that is the same with the slaughtering in Egypt. And that is pattern number 4, by which April 14 at midnight, the slaughtering took place. Now let us look at April 14, 2024. April 14, 2024. You see, in Gregorian, that is September 22. It will never be repeated again, that April 14 in Bible calendar. Or in other words, the Bible calendar cannot be changed. It will always remain. But Gregorian changes. So the infallible proofs is found in Gregorian, not in Bible calendar. It was predicted beforehand that the slaughtering must be on April 14. But the answer is found in tract number 3, page 86. It was revealed through the 40 typical days. So let us go back again. I would like to make a list. This is the given number, 18, 13, and 27, the type. Now let us go to the antitype, by which the number is figurative. October 22, 1844. Then 18 plus 22 equals 40. The midnight slaughtering, 1 month earlier on October. That is September 22. September 22, 2022. That is why Bethotep says, if we have given light how to decipher these 30 typical days, then we will know when would be the day of slaughter. But God gave to us. You see, it's easy. From September 22 to October 22, there are 30 days. 30 typical days, 1 month earlier than the other. Now, 18 plus 22 equals 40. Every year, there is September 22. But not all September 22 in Bible calendar is April 14. Only on 2022 that September 22 is April 14. The same with September 23. Every year there is September 23, but only on September 23, 2021, by which in Bible calendar, that is April 10, 2023. And that is why it is infallible. We will study it over and over again because it is little difficult but easy to understand. So, March 27, 2021, the partner of this, which is 1 month earlier than the other, cannot be brothers and sisters. None other than on the month of April. March, April. And that is April 27, 1845. And we will explain to you what happened in April 27, 1845. In Bible calendar, that is April 18, 1844. Right? And also March 22, 2022, in Bible calendar is October 10, perfectly matched to October 22. And it is also the 180th atonement. All these events is established with absolute facts and impregnable evidence, infallible proof, which cannot be mistaken. My dear brothers and sisters. So, we invite all my fellow Shepherd's Rod believer to study it closely because that is not the only infallible proof that we could produce to you. Please project again the one slaying, is that diagram. And we can send to you that diagram. The slaying. So, you can see, brothers and sisters, the diagram. September 22, 2022, in Bible calendar, that was April 14, 2024. And September 27, 2021, in Bible calendar, that is April 14, 2023. So, but there is a diagram, but it was enumerated one by one. It is still concerning also the slaying. In that diagram, it was enumerated one by one. At the day of slaughter, number 147, the day of slaughter. So, you can have that diagram. That diagram established firmly the impregnable evidence. 2024, in Bible calendar, that is the year of Jubilee, but sabbatical year. Because according to the writings of Esther White and the writings of B.T. Hotep, we will be delivered to God's kingdom on the year of Jubilee, God's premillennial kingdom, and all the saints, resurrected and living saints, will be delivered from this earth and brought to the millennial kingdom, also Jubilee. But the difference with the Jubilee on the second visible coming of Jesus Christ, that is the 50th year, every 50th year. But the Jubilee on the premillennial kingdom is every 7th year, from 1491 BC. And 2024 is the 3514th Jubilee. 502 Jubilee. Because that is 3,514 years divided by 7, 502. So that is the 502 Jubilee. So if 2024 is not yet the deliverance of God's people, you will wait another 7 years. But it could not be because the next year, 7 years, 2031, that is already the Jubilee, the 120th Jubilee, by which God's people will be delivered from this earth and brought to the third heaven. So, you can have that diagram to prove, brothers and sisters, that April 14, 2024, which is in Gregorian, that is September 22, 2022, at midnight, God's people will be delivered, and after God's people delivered, that is the general destruction of all the wicked Sabbath keepers. 7 days is slaughtering. So, hoping, brethren, that you will continue listening and viewing this program while there is still time to be sealed and to be among that special company, 144,000 living saints. Thank you very much for listening and viewing this program. May the good Lord bless you and have a beautiful, wonderful evening.